Why was it that when he was on his last leg against Darth Sidious, Darth Maul actually used the lightsaber style of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Greetings and welcome back to the archives. Maul fought Obi-Wan several times and likely studied his moves with each encounter in order to gain the upper hand. We know that Maul typically sticks to the more aggressive forms of combat, with his primary affinity being towards Form 7, Juya, and Form 4, Ataru. While Maul last saw Kenobi on Naboo, he was a practitioner of Ataru and not Soresu yet, which was something that Maul was able to take advantage of since he had more of a familiarity with it. However, once the Sith Lord returned from the dead and fought Kenobi again, he would slowly grow to appreciate Obi-Wan's use of Form 3. But Maul not only appreciated Form 3, but he actually respected it enough to try to emulate it when he fought Sidious on Mandalore, indicating to us that Darth Maul actually practiced the all-defensive form, and that he was inspired to do so by Obi-Wan. So what would drive Maul into using his most hated rival's form against his own master? Well, we're excited to break down this idea and share to you what happened. But before we do, we sense that many of you who are watching this holocron have not yet subscribed. We intend to continue posting lore like this every single day, so if you've been enjoying this content, be sure to reach out and crush that subscribe button. It is your destiny. When Maul first returned, Kenobi barely had a chance to defend himself when he was accosted by two Zabrak darkside wielders. Maul and Savage tossed Kenobi around a little bit until he was eventually rescued by Ventress. Importantly though, the next time they duel, Maul was actually successful of Obi-Wan because the Jedi had allowed his emotions to run rampant. With Kenobi still mad over Qui-Gon Jinn's death, this unbalanced him and made him weak. For some time, Maul was convinced that he had simply grown too powerful for Kenobi, and with the help of Savage, it would only be a matter of time before his revenge was complete. In Maul's mind, all he needed was to pin Kenobi down and get him in a single place where he would not be able to flee. This opportunity arose when he lured Obi-Wan and Adi Gallia to Florum, orchestrating a band of pirates to be on the side of the Sith Lord. Until now, Maul had yet to duel Obi-Wan at his best, and Maul was unprepared as he had fought Obi-Wan in this weakened state before and believed that he was simply too powerful. But now, Kenobi was refreshed, centered in the Force, and ready. This time, Obi-Wan showed his rival why he was granted the rank of Jedi Master. The duel on Florum was when everything changed for Maul. Up until now, he had thought that he was virtually invincible. His plan was to use his and Savage's power to overwhelm and destroy Kenobi, making sure he died slowly and with great suffering. Savage quickly dispatched Master Adi Gallia, and the two brothers bore down on Obi-Wan. But during the entire duel, Kenobi was keeping up with Maul blow for blow. He was on the back foot, sure, but this is the nature of Form 3. Retreat, defend, conserve energy. Obi-Wan had made sure to employ all of these tactics when fighting Maul, being sure to never move a millimeter more than was necessary. Unfortunately, with the death of Master Gallia though, Obi-Wan knew it was more wise for him to retreat into the caverns where he could isolate the brothers, and then take them on instantly in a more confined space. Maul and Savage followed Obi-Wan and his trap, and it was here against the two brothers that he would let out all of the energy that he had been conserving in a massive explosion. Maul witnessed as Obi-Wan demonstrated his true skill in Form 3 combat, and Master Kenobi took on Maul and Savage at the same time, rapidly switching between the defensive currents of Soresu and the erratic acrobatics of Ataru as he dual-wielded his lightsabers. Make no mistake, this is one of the most impressive things that Darth Maul had ever seen, and it utterly shocked him. Kenobi defended from both the brothers' attacks while creating enough openings to land kicks, punches, and even slip his lightsaber through their guards. Maul had been so certain that Kenobi was no match for him, much less the brothers combined, and yet, not only did Obi-Wan expertly fend them off together, but even ended the engagement by severing Savage's arm. This engagement caught Maul so off guard that he was forced to break the duel off and force push Kenobi deeper into the cave. Following this, Maul even admitted that their plan had failed and that they were defeated by Obi-Wan, picking up his wounded brother and retreating. This is the moment where Maul's eyes were truly opened to what Obi-Wan Kenobi had become, the master of Soresu. Gone was the boy on Naboo who had let his anger get the best of him and that Maul had managed to defeat. This was a Jedi Master. Maul was so incredibly impressed by Obi-Wan that he began to examine and even practice Form 3 combat, even though it fundamentally went against everything that Maul believed as a fighter and as a Sith. Kenobi's style was so resoundingly successful that it gained Maul's respect along with his hatred. But even more of a compliment to Obi-Wan would be when Maul would attempt to finally employ Soresu against Sidious. When Sidious first arrived, Maul was filled with immeasurable fear, but also excitement and anticipation. The appearance of his master was completely unexpected, and as soon as Maul sensed the Sith Lord, his mind began to reel through the implications of this visit. He first attempted to deceive Sidious, which of course would fail, and got him and Savage thrown into the stained glass windows. When they were released though, Maul knew that there was no way out of this except for a duel. When the two brothers stand to their feet, Maul does something many of us never believed he would ever do. He adopted the opening stance and salute of Soresu. Maul had felt the true strength of Sidious and was petrified, and that is why he adopted the very antithesis of how he fought: defense, Soresu. For someone like Maul, who has never done anything like this before, who has based his entire fighting technique around overwhelming and overpowering his opponents, the idea that in this moment of pure instinct and fear, he would adopt the defensive form of his greatest rival is telling to Obi-Wan. Maul's thoughts fluttered back to Kenobi and their duel. He used Soresu to perfection and survived, even defeated 2 opponents. This of course was due to the mastery of the form, which was also what allowed him to defeat Grievous later on in the war, and even Anakin. Maul likely learned from this observation that if he wanted to survive an encounter with someone as powerful as Sidious, Maul would need to employ the same tactics as Obi-Wan. This was the only way. Maul goes on the defensive in the duel, striking only when necessary if Savage creates an opening. Unfortunately though, Lord Maul is not Master Kenobi, and he certainly hasn't spent the time that Kenobi has to master the defensive style. It's likely that Maul was even unfamiliar with the idea of being on the complete and total defense over the course of a duel, not to mention Sidious had mastered all 7 forms of lightsaber combat, and was employing Soresu against the brothers as well, even better than either of them could. In the end, Maul threw his plans to the wind when Savage was murdered and butchered, and at that moment, it was too late. He was hopelessly outclassed by someone more powerful, more experienced, and more skilled than Maul could ever dream to be. Unfortunately, Form 3 simply disagreed with Maul on a fundamental level. Darth Maul was a Sith assassin and was familiar with mostly the saberstaff. Everything he knew was total, overwhelming offense. If there was any defense at all, it was mostly just a quick parry in order to set up the next offensive strike. Maul was unable to break this habit of immediately going for a counter whenever he blocked. Being on the complete and total defense is a skill and a mindset one has to train rigorously in order to adopt. It's the reason why Obi-Wan seems weak whenever he goes off the complete offensive side. He's trained himself to be defensive-minded. So even when Maul tried to use Soresu, he was unable to commit to the form because of how foreign it was to him, and this is why he had switched back to 7 Juya when dueling Palpatine. Still though, Maul absolutely adopted Form 3 initially against Sidious, believing that perhaps this was the only way he could defeat his master. A great lesson from Kenobi's style. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? And did you catch this in the duel with Maul and Darth Sidious? For me, although Kenobi would never become aware of this, this is one of the greatest compliments to the Jedi Master's style. Thank you as always, my friends, so much for visiting the channel today, and may the Force be with you.